As you stroll along the seafront in Brightlingsea today, it's almost impossible to believe what went on here just 15 years ago. Because for 10 months in 1995, this Essex port became a centre for demonstrations against the export of live animals. But what made this protest so unusual was the people involved. Most had never campaigned for anything in their lives before, and to be frank, many were getting on a bit. This was granny power.
Ban live exports! Ban live exports!
But did they really achieve what they wanted? And what's been happening to live exports in the 15 years since? Before the mid-1990s, live animals were usually shipped from large ports, such as here at Dover. But that situation changed dramatically when the big carriers decided they were no longer going to transport livestock for slaughter. And that meant the exporters had to find other ports to ship out the livestock, including places like Shoreham and Brightlingsea.
It's very upsetting, you know, you didn't normally see animals in such close contact before, and as you can see this road is very tiny and the animals were literally passing by in front of your face. You know, if you hadn't thought about the trade before, you certainly did then. We set up a public meeting in the community centre, several thousand people turned up, and that's when we decided to form Brightlingsea Against Live Exports.
So Bale was formed, and then what was the kind of plan?
Well, there wasn't a particular plan, we just turned up.
What's extraordinary is the type of people that got involved.
They just thought we'd go down just to watch and see what all the fuss was about. And it was only when we got down there and we were standing on the pavement, we were dressed in our work clothes, and a policeman came along and told us, if you stay there and you don't move, we're going to arrest you for obstructing the footpath. So before you know it, there was two hairdressers sitting in the road rather than standing in the pavement. It was very, very frightening. It wasn't something I ever thought I'd find myself doing.
The funniest thing really was our children saying to us as we left the house each morning, "Don't get into trouble, Mum."
I'm not a vegetarian. I go to the supermarket to buy my vegetables, my fruit, of course my meat. I just hadn't really thought about how it occurred, how these animals were transported. And when you went down and you saw it, you just really felt that it wasn't necessary for it to be done in that way.
Throughout the early months of 1995, the protests grew in strength in Brightlingsea. Carla Lane, writer of TV hits such as The Liverbirds, was a great supporter.
I'm going to say keep going and don't give up and don't be despaired, and there'll be good days and bad days, but you know, in the end we've got to win.
There were great campaigns going on, so I just got in my car and drove and marched along with them. They're the most memorable things that have happened to me, and that even includes going to the Queen for an OBE. It is like in a shadow compared with racing along that road after those trucks trying to stop the trade. I loved it. I loved the fight. Everybody fighting, little old ladies fainting, some men crying. I mean, it was the most dramatic thing because we dearly didn't want these animals to go to what they were going to.
While Carla continued her battle against live exports, so did the people of Brightlingsea.
We had 500 riot police down here, and it was dark. And when you looked along the road, all you could see was these silver flashes, and everywhere was just full of these yellow jackets, and they were all, you know, in the helmets and the shields and truncheons. You know, it was very frightening.
And what happened with the coach as well? Because we've got a picture here.
They'd brought this coach, I don't know where from. They'd taken all the wheels off. They had put chains underneath and chained it down into the drains underneath, and people were chained underneath it.
You were so defiant that you were going to stop this from happening.
Oh, yes.
Was it the sort of kind of campaign that you would get involved in initially?
We were respectable people. We became hooligans.
No, I think the thing is, we all knew it was a cruel trade, and somehow we felt we needed to do our bit to stop it.
Tell me about Tilly, because Tilly's a character. She kept everyone's spirits up.
She was marvellous. She did things nobody would ever do. On one occasion, they'd told us that we weren't to shout at them. And so the next day, Tilly comes down with a big piece of tape across her mouth, sod off.
As the protests continued, farmers increasingly felt themselves in the firing line.
There was a lot of people feeling terribly seriously about it and wanted to stop it. But it was a legal trade. I mean, the politicians weren't too interested in getting involved. They said, well, it's legal. You know, the police will sort it out.
In fact, the police operation at Brightlingsea continued for 10 months and cost millions. In October, the exports stopped and the protesters claimed victory.
Certainly since '95, I think we are doing it better. And I think the regulation have changed, particularly from transportation and animal welfare, and we go along with that. We've got nothing against that.
Do you think the protesters did some good then with the cause, ultimately?
Yes, I think that it probably highlighted the review of what the situation was. And I think not only protesters, but I think farming organisations and the food trade as a whole have wanted to know that the job is being done all right.
Live exports from the UK to Europe have fallen dramatically since the protests were at their height. But the trade was never banned, which is why some people are fighting on. Mark Johnson took part in demonstrations at Brightlingsea and is a member of CALE, Kent Against Live Exports. He keeps watch on livestock movements at Dover.
With every single shipment we produce a report. So up till now we've presented 18 formal complaints to the European Union, and as a result of that the European Union has actually sent over their own team of investigators.
Which is why campaigners still demonstrate at Dover docks.
We have achieved tremendous things. Just recently, a Dutch company branded meat or branded live sheep as boxed meat, which is totally illegal, totally bad for animal welfare, and tried to get them through the port. We alerted the port to this. We have actually stopped it.
So this was livestock?
This is livestock on the manifesto as boxed meat.
Has everybody had their raffle tickets? No? Haven't you?
Back in Brightlingsea, Bale is also still in action, but these days they concentrate on fundraising rather than hell-raising.
We've raised, I think, in excess of 25,000 over the years.
That's a lot.
That is a lot, yeah. We're proud of it.
Yeah.
And it's going to all the local animal charities.
They're still very passionate.
Very passionate, yes, yes. And there's still a lot of letter writing and such like, you know, we're getting a bit old now in the tooth, you know.
In the last 15 years, things have definitely changed for the better. So I'm glad we did what we did. And if they come back, we'll go back. We'll be there.